Hey up. I imagine most of you have heard about the resignation of Louise Haigh today. She was Secretary for Transport in the Starmer regime. Now, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of the woman until a friend of mine rang me up and told me about the resignation. So I said, "Well, what do you know about her?" And he said, "Well, she's got big tits." Okay, that's not actually a qualification for being a member of a government, although these days, who knows? So I did a bit of digging around. She likes to claim that her grandfather was an industrial trades union official. Well, yes, he was. But her dad certainly bloody wasn't, because he had the brass to send young Louise to Sheffield High School. In spite of the name, it's an independent girls' day school. Costs a fair few bob. After Sheffield High School, she went to the London School of Economics, but she was supposed to be reading politics and economics, but by all accounts, she couldn't handle the maths. So she switched over to the University of Nottingham and took a degree in politics. After that, it's the normal Labour Party approach to life. She got herself a local government non-job. Then she was a researcher in Westminster for a Labour MP. And then she decided, I think, that she needed some real world experience. So she went to work for a company called Aviva, an insurance company. And that's where her problems began. Because you see, she had a habit of losing her mobile phone and getting an upgrade based on the insurance payout. Now, Aviva, her employer, when all's said and done, got a bit dubious about this one day, and they did a check once she'd got her new phone, and they found that the old phone was switched on. So they called the police. The police went and knocked on the door, and Louise coughed that, well, she'd made a mistake and the phone, she thought the phone had been stolen, but it hadn't, and you're familiar with the story. She was prosecuted for this, given a conditional discharge, and that was the end of that. It was over a decade ago. The problem is that Starmer appointed her to his shadow cabinet when he was leader of the opposition, and she was the spokeswoman for policing. Yeah. Then, in the government that was elected in July of this year, she was appointed to the position of Transport Secretary. Now, that puts her in charge of the British Transport Police. Admittedly, it wasn't the British Transport Police who lifted her for fraud a decade ago, but nevertheless, it looks a bit dodgy when somebody, a convicted fraudster, is put in charge of a police force. Obviously, she's resigned, and that's the end of her. My guess is that she will leave Parliament at the next election or lose her seat, and we will not hear any more from her. The problem now becomes Keir Starmer, who must have known that of her conviction. If she didn't tell him, then I'm sure the security services would have done. So what did he know, and when did he know it, and why did he not say anything until the story of her conviction leaked out yesterday? What we've got here is a Labour Party that was, let's face it, set up to keep the wages up and the management down, now representing not just the middle class and really nobody else, but actually covering up fraud and other criminality by members of that class. It looks more and more as if the Labour Party, it's not just forgotten what it was set up to do, it doesn't even pretend to remember what its purpose in life is. And Labour's purpose in life is not to represent middle class fraudsters like Louise Haigh, no matter how big her tits are. Think on, folks.